I began to get numerous letters from people telling me that he had been attacking me again on several more occasions on his radio program. He has been doing this off and on for the last 3 or 4 years and has attacked me in books and on tapes and his magazine. I've made it a position over 42 years of ministry that though I would take on the atheists and the agnostics and the cultists and the pagans and the humanists and the evolutionists, that I never would attack fellow evangelical believers. And so I had called him one time trying to get him to not do that, but he continued to do it, and apparently is increasing that attack. And so I finally simply wrote a letter to the people that had responded, had sent me letters telling me that he was attacking me, tried to explain why what he said wasn't the case. And apparently, and I'm not sure, but somebody said that they think that he took that and put it on the web and made it public, and now is accusing me of attacking him, which is utterly absurd, because I have been sitting here saying nothing for 3 or 4 years while he has continued this assault.
Okay. Now, how did Hank Hanegraaff come to get involved at Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church, your home church?
Well, he was led to Christ by one of our Evangelism Explosion teams that visited in his apartment one night, led him to Christ. He came and was received as a member, and he was a very eager young man, had a good mind, and was growing very well. We led him to Christ. We taught him Reformed theology. We taught him how to evangelize through Evangelism Explosion. Then he came to work a couple of years later for EE and in the fundraising department. And then finally, he left and went to Atlanta to work with Archie Parrish.
Okay. Approximately how many years was he attached to your church there in Fort Lauderdale?
I was afraid you were going to ask that, because I really don't know, and this would just be a guess. I don't know. I really have no idea. I would say it seems like it might have been 5 years or more, but that's purely a guess. I have not checked any figures, and my memory for those things is getting a little bit fuzzy.
Oh, sure, I understand. Was there any particular reason that you know of why he left Fort Lauderdale area and the Coral Ridge ministries there?
He was working for EE, and when Parrish, who was then our vice president, went to Atlanta to start his own ministry, he went with him to work for him.
Okay, so there was no problem with him that you know of?
No. As far as any personal problem, not that I knew of. He later was removed from that ministry because of the conduct that he exhibited there. I just talked to Archie Parrish at General Assembly a couple of days ago, and he was telling me about the very unhappy circumstances whereby he was forced to let him go.
Now, maybe you can just speak to this just for a moment. Was Hank Hanegraaff a representative for Evangelism Explosion in Atlanta, or just when he was with you?
Just when he was with us, he would then represent us to donors anywhere in the country, not just Atlanta. But when he left us and went to Atlanta, he no longer was.
Okay, so there was no reason to. So he didn't leave the EE program in Atlanta. He actually left that in Fort Lauderdale.
That's correct.
Okay.
Best I remember. That's been, 20 years or more ago.
Sure. And now, when did you first hear about Hank Hanegraaff's personal witnessing training program?
The first time I ever heard of that is when I began to get letters from people telling me that that Hanegraaff had plagiarized my book, Evangelism Explosion, which is the basis of the whole evangelistic EE Evangelism Explosion ministry all over the world, and that he had come up with a very, very similar program, and I guess that's what he called it. And it was till people began to send me a page of his book and a page of my book right next to it, another page of his and a page of mine, and on, that I had ever seen it or even heard of it. and they were wanting me. I had all kinds of people saying, you really ought to sue this man for plagiarism. And I said then what I have always said, I don't think that's what Christians ought to do. I don't think we're supposed to sue other Christians. And I met him one time at a hotel somewhere, I don't remember when or where, and he was trying to explain to me how this wasn't really plagiarism. And I said to him, Hank, look, forget it, don't worry about it. I have no intention of suing you. I don't believe Christians ought to sue other Christians. So just forget about it. And so that was my experience with that.
Now, do you have a sense of how many years ago it was? I mean, when you first started hearing about this new PWT program?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Was it 10, 12?
10, 12
I don't know. When did he publish it? I don't remember.
Well, it's been out since he was in Atlanta, because that's when he first started developing it.
Well, it could have been longer than that. I don't know when I started hearing about it, when people began to write me letters and tell me about it. Other than that, I'd never heard of it. I could go back, have my secretary dig in our files and see if she could find those letters, but I don't know whether it's 10, 15, 20 years ago, something like that.
Sure. Now, Christian Research Institute and Hank Hanegraaff claims that you gave Mr. Hanegraaff permission to use Evangelism Explosion materials for the development of the personal witnessing training program, either verbal or written authorization. Did you ever do this?
No, that is just not the case. In fact, the matter is, I did, at his request, take it to the board and ask them if they wanted to get involved with doing something like this, and they turned it down. And if I had given him permission, then I would ask at that hotel that time, why would he have so belabored the point that this really wasn't plagiarism? Now, I think I had seen the pages set side by side. I never even made an investigation on my own to get a hold of it or anything, but since people had sent me the copy of the pages, and since there was such a startling comparison between the two, why was he trying so hard to convince me that this wasn't plagiarism when he could have said to me, well, Jim, this is what I've come up with, and since you gave me permission to use your book any way I wanted, I guess you'll recognize the large segments of this coming from your book. He never said that. Mm-hmm. He kept saying it wasn't plagiarism. Now, apparently, he's saying it was, but he had permission from me.
Now, for a certain period of time, have you had concerns about Hank Hanegraaff's questionable ethics? Has this been going on in your mind for quite a while now?
Well, obviously, that incident would have raised some concerns at that time, but I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and put them out of my mind, and I did. And it's only just recently, since for reasons known only to him and God, he has started attacking me again. And this makes probably 3 or 4 years now that he's been doing this. And since I made it a policy not to attack evangelical Christians or respond, I have done nothing until just recently when I wrote one letter. My goodness, you think I would have set off a hydrogen bomb? That just one little letter has caused such a furor, and all I did was simply refute the accusations that he had made about me recently on one of his radio programs.
Now, do you know of any evidence within the Coral Ridge Ministries that at any time Hank Hanegraaff stole Coral Ridge Presbyterian mailing lists for his own uses?
No, I don't. I think that the person that you would need to talk to about that would be Reverend Archie Parrish, who was vice president and was running the ministry for me at the time that he was employed, and for whom Hank worked when he left our employ and went to Atlanta. You might particularly want to ask him about the circumstances under which he felt necessary to let Hank go from his own ministry out there in Atlanta.
I see.